This is insanity what's happening to Enoch Burke, an upright, intelligent, kind, lover of his students, young teacher.
Yes.
This should never have, it would never have happened only for the church, who was silent, never came onto the playing field because it's betrayed Christ. It has agreed with the corrupt judge and the government, and they've got their 30 pieces of silver, but it won't end good for you. It never ends good when you betray Christ. You get your 30 pieces of silver, but no thank you. And just remember that, parents, when you see them on the pulpit, they're Judases, and this should never have happened. It would never have happened if the church had stood up for the ethos of this school. Doesn't believe in it.
We're standing outside Wilson's Hospital School here in County Westmeath. Now, I was at the High Court this morning with my father Sean Burke and my sister Amy Burke, and we attended the court this morning because the Board of Management of Wilson's Hospital School had yet another application to have Enoch Burke arrested and imprisoned, put back into Mountjoy prison for refusing to bow down to transgenderism and to obey that instruction by Principal Niamh McShane 3 years ago to call a young boy they, an abomination. And we had papers before the court this morning. There was a Court of Appeal decision only 6 weeks ago, a major development in this case, where the Court of Appeal came out and did something that had not been done before, recognised simply, number one, that the principal's overarching complaint, those were the words used by the Court of Appeal against Enoch Burke. The principal's complaint against Enoch Burke was that he refused to comply with her instruction. And then the Court of Appeal secondly said that that instruction must be looked at. Was it a legitimate instruction? And those are two things which the High Court has persistently refused to acknowledge or to do since the very beginning of these proceedings. And we've had since the very first day this case came before the court, it came before Judge Siobhan Stack on the 30th of August in 2022, and she said this has nothing to do, she agreed with counsel for the other side with Enoch Burke's views, a manifestly false statement. Then we had Judge Max Barrett saying this is not a transgender issue, another manifestly false statement. And then we had Judge Alexander Owens, and he came out and upheld the lawfulness of the suspension of Enoch Burke without once considering, was that instruction legitimate? Was it in accordance with law in this country? And all of that has been called into question by the Court of Appeal.
And of course we all know it wasn't lawful.
Of course.
A child would know it's not lawful.
A child would know.
And did Judge Nolan listen to that today?
Judge Nolan didn't listen to it, no. And Enoch did travel up here. He travelled from up to Dublin yesterday. He duly affirmed the affidavit before the High Court. He went through the normal procedures, stamping. That was before the court. Also a submission which he carefully prepared, showing the discrepancy between the Court of Appeal and the High Court. And shockingly, Judge David Nolan refused to read it, he refused to open it, or to have any of it aired in court this morning.
It can't, because it reveals how corrupt he is, and every other one of them.
And I would simply say this is not normal. That is not a normal court. When you bring in your documents, when you have a positive Court of Appeal judgment which undermines what's happening at the High Court, and that is refused to be looked at by Judge David Nolan, that's not a normal court. It's a shocking state.
And now
of
he
affairs.
says he wants to wash his hands of everything, and he's putting it back on the school. And this is the corruption we have been subjected to for 3 full years.
Yes.
Enoch Burke made a scapegoat, made a pariah, because he would bend to corrupt judges. It's no wonder people leave those courts at the end of their lives.
Yes.
It's a sad day our country is in, with such corruption in the High Court. Absolute corruption.
Yes.
Judges a law unto themselves.
Yes, and if you open your mouth then to speak, if you simply request that those papers be looked at, the guards are ready to take you out. And I believe they were up on 10 Gardaí there this morning, and there was a Garda van, it's not in the news reports, there was a Garda van backed up to the door of the forecourts. And we also had journalists sitting there. And of course, the journalists are not telling the truth. They're working hand in hand with corrupt judges like David Nolan.
They're prostrate, they're in obeisance, they're in homage to the judges. They're not proper journalists. They are not bringing the truth to the public. I don't tell lies. They are not bringing the truth to the public. It was even said today that the Burkes were removed from the court. That's not true.
Yes.
It's simply not true.
The Irish Examiner, I believe. When we went into the courts, we felt we faced an angry judge, a judge who really was losing the plot. He was angry. He had no. There was no rhyme, no reason to what he was doing.
No, because you're not breaking the law. Enoch Burke is not breaking the law. The courts are breaking the law. They're breaking their vows. And that's why they're so frustrated and so corrupt and jumping up and leaving the chair, because they're breaking their oath to uphold the Constitution and its laws. They're denying Enoch Burke his constitutional rights.
Yes, and of course we see these fines, these ludicrous fines being clocked up, €225,000. These outrageous fines, I would say.
Yes.
And clearly a judge who is losing the plot, who's trying to pretend he has some authority, whilst at the same time is denying a right-standing teacher the Constitution, the protection, the guarantees that he should enjoy.
Yes, and it's very serious that he says that Enoch Burke has perverted justice. This corrupt judge sitting in the church, Judge David Nolan, today, the Wilson's Hospital School had asked that Enoch Burke be put back in Mountjoy Prison behind bars. Now, he didn't want to do that, he said, because it's accomplishing nothing. And yet Enoch Burke is a man who has perverted justice. Very strange, isn't it? He doesn't want to put him behind bars. He doesn't want to put him behind bars because the public aren't stupid. They know that he's been denied his constitutional rights, and it is utterly corrupt that this man would get away with what has happened for the past 3 years. It should never have happened. And Enoch Burke is in here today waiting for his job back. He was thrown out of here unfairly and brought to the courts from there to Mountjoy Prison, where he spent 500 days. We could talk about this forever. It's unjust. It's simply wrong what happened. But let us never forget, Wilson's Hospital School, a Christian ethos. We are a Christian school. We believe that God made them male and female. Come to our school, send your children here. That's the school Enoch Burke was employed at. It has a Christian ethos. The Archbishop John McDowell hasn't spoken a word. Very strange, isn't it? This would never have happened if the church had done what it should. But John McDowell is a Judas. He is a Judas. I would call him Archbishop John Judas McDowell. He hasn't uttered a word. He has betrayed Christ. He has sold his soul. He has sold it for 30 pieces of silver. And it was sold well before that, I'd say. With the government, a corrupt government, and corrupt judges. And while Enoch Burke is made a pariah today, he's made a scapegoat because he simply won't be insane and encourage a young 15-year-old boy to be a girl.
Yes.
He won't encourage him. He won't help him, support him down that path by using the they pronoun. You know, John Judas McDowell is silent while he's incarcerated, while he's locked up, while the courts, the corrupt courts, are charging him $225,000. It's costly to be a Christian, isn't it? It's costly to be a Christian. And then you have Bishop Pat Judas' story. And this is Bishop Story, that is the patron of this school and
Yes.
also has remained quiet. Working together with the courts, with the corrupt judiciary and with the corrupt government, bringing in not an un-Christian agenda, not an un-Christian, an anti-Christian agenda. And you know, these are Judases. I would say to the world, Pat Judas story. And I would say to any parent, any man, any woman, any boy, any girl, do not be deceived by her fair speeches and her fair smile, her sweet smile, her fair speeches. I would say when she stands on her pulpit, or when John Judas McDowell stands on his pulpit, remember Enoch Burke. Please remember Enoch Burke, locked away for 500 days in Mountjoy prison, made a pariah, made a scapegoat because of this Christian ethos that John McDowell has betrayed, has sold it off. This is a wonderful estate here, bequeathed by Andrew Wilson,
yes.
over 300 years ago,
Yes.
as a hospital for elderly men.
Christian,
What a
godly
vision!
man.
What a vision!
Yes.
A hospital for elderly men.
Yes.
Respect for the elderly. A nice place for elderly men. And a school for young boys. How we need to encourage our young boys to be strong men, to have a vision, to go out into the world, to be
Yes.
the salt of the world, to be the light of the world. And that was his vision, our young boys. But instead of that, John Judas McDowell and Pat Judas story want this to be an indoctrination centre, an anti-Christian agenda, promotion of LGBT, encourage every young boy in this country to wear a skirt, to wear a dress, to wear high heels. And we know where that ends, because it's antichrist. It ends in depression and suicide and hopelessness. But you know, God will never be defeated. But remember that. This should never have happened.